People. Aseethe is going to be on momentarily.
Mm-hmm.
Greetings, citizens of Earth. Welcome to Accelerativ Thrust. I'm Dan.
And I'm Erik.
And as I mentioned before, Aseethe, who just put out an incredible record, which we're going to talk about, The Cost. Boy, I'll tell you, it's a scorcher. It's hot, just like the weather, just like the weather's been. Although yesterday was actually kind of cool with some rain, and we got a flood warning now. A flood warning.
Finally.
I want to see I want to see the Bible actually take place in real time.
Yeah, me too. I want to watch it all go down.
There's some sort of song.
Three
like
people.
That.
Oh man. At the whole band's here?
Noah, Brian, and Erik, who I guess you're saying they're all three with us.
Yeah, there's three people in the waiting room.
Well, holy crap. Let's get them out of the waiting room.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we go.
All right.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring them in one by one. Joining. So
how's it going, Aseethe?
Good.
I'm excited to have you guys on. And I just want to say this album, The Cost, man, I've listened to it 3 times since it dropped. And it is amazing, guys. It's seriously like, I have to say, this is honestly, and I mean this 100%, this is probably my favorite work that you guys have put out.
Oh, thank you.
Like,
thanks, Dan.
In such a short amount of time, too. I'll start off the round of questioning here because one thing I noticed about this record, or at least this is kind of like my comprehension of it, I guess, is it seems to me one of the things I really like about it, like, I love how like it starts out with Noah's bass and just really just getting into it from there. And there just seems to be such a sense of urgency and almost like directness to it that not to say that the other Aseethe records weren't like that, but I don't know, man. There's something about this that is just it really seems urgent and intense to me. Am I kind of on the dot there? Do you guys think that that's kind of what you were going for, or did it kind of just come out that way?
Yeah, like even hearing the finished product, I was just like, man, we're just right out of the gate with this one, aren't we? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it was intentional, because I believe we talked about doing something at the beginning and we just scrapped it. That's about it.
Sanford was actually the one, because we were trying to figure out what song to have to open the album with, and Sanford was actually the one that was like, if I had an album just begin with bass, I'd be pretty stoked. So I think that was a little bit of Stanford's direction.
You guys recorded at Electrical Audio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, wasn't that just something about Albini just passing away just suddenly?
We were at actually Machines with Magnets recording when that happened. So it was really weird. It's like, oh man, like we're not recording at Electrical for like the first time in a few years, because we've done like the last like 4 releases at Electrical Audio. So, well, I guess besides the singles that we did during the pandemic, but yeah, it was kind of just really weird. It set a weird tone, a weird mood for that entire day.
Man, he was more than just a recording engineer, that's for sure.
That studio is like magical.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, did that environment like shape, the way maybe that album came out, or just like you guys recorded there with other projects, correct?
No, we did Throws, our last album, Throws there, and I believe we also did the split with Snow Burial. Am I right on that, Brian?
Yeah, we also did the split with Obsidian Sword there as well. That was a whole like just day process. What we did with that one was, not to get way into that one, Obsidian Sword and us went to the studio and each recorded the song each that day in like one day.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
recorded at the studio with the same engineer, Shane, that did, Hopes of Failure. Most of our recordings from Hopes of Failure up until this one, Shane had engineered all of those. So yeah, we knocked that out in a day just because we wanted like a cohesive tone. It's like sometimes people do splits, especially I feel like in the early 2000s, you'd be like, with the hardcore scene, you get a split and like one side would sound really good and the other side would sound like complete garbage.
Mhm.
Like just depending on who wants to spend the most or has the most money to spend on recording or where they recorded. I was like, it'd be cool if we just went and did it each in a day. I think we used the same kit as well.
Yeah,
didn't we?
we jelly beaned a kit together between the two like drum kits.
Yeah.
Basically, made the best sounding kit, and then both of us used the same drum kit.
Have you guys ever done a split or worked with someone who like purposefully wanted to sound shitty? I'm thinking like black metal where, they want it as lo-fi and terrible as possible, or
Yeah. No, I mean, most of all the splits are I feel like, well, no, I take that back. Shores of the Tundra, those guys kind of liked it a little lo-fi, or at least Matt Show did. Yeah, that split, like those guys, Matt Show specifically kind of liked it a little bit more lo-fi and punk. Yeah. But I don't know if Kevin really was going for that. But that's been a long time.
Yeah, definitely. Guys have been around for a while, that's for sure. Yeah, I remember, based on like Kevin's stuff that he's putting out now, it definitely seems like he's really into production.
Yeah, man, I can't even keep up. It's like, dude, you're like heading into Justin. I love Kevin, and like I try to check out every few of them, and give them a listen, but I can't even keep up, man. No. Like, because he's got like, I don't even know how many projects. Like, he's got a few names fill in. So I'm like, what is going on? Yeah, I talked to him a little bit about it. I mentioned how prolific he has been, and he was like, man, I'm just like making up for all the time I didn't do anything. So I think he's just maybe had a lot of stuff that just was sitting around, That's my guess anyways.
Yeah. Well, everyone knows my question. Okay, so gear. So the last time I saw your rig, Brian, it honestly looked like a modular synth laid down on the floor.
He's not disagreeing either.
Yeah. It did look like that.
Did you scale back for this new record at all, or did you have that? Because I know Noah is listed as doing synths, so I didn't know if that space was kind of taken up now by synthesizers. Or
yeah, there is. I mean, like, I basically tore my pedal board apart before we went into the studio and just like brought my pedals in just in a case.
Mm-hmm.
And so we use some of them. Sanford has a crap ton of pedals. So there are 7 to 8 different guitar tracks, just literally me playing the basic riffs through different distortion and fuzz pedals.
Wow.
One of the things that we used through the whole thing almost, I think, was that DoD buzz box. And then like Sanford would just sit and twist knobs while I was playing.
Nice.
I think that's more underlying in certain sections or whatever, which that pedal rules, but because it sounds like garbage. But yeah, there was like a lot of guitar layers because we just use different, and then like during the solos and some of the ambient parts, there's a lot more. There's like granular pedals. That Tomcat Cloudy was used a lot. Live now it's just scaled way back. I use like volume pedal, tuner, distortion, delay, reverb, and that's it.
Nice.
So because I mean we have Drew doing live stuff
right
now with us, so it's like I don't really need, and honestly live I've pretty much always used those things. Yeah, it definitely got pretty crazy when I didn't have to lug around a big pedal board during the pandemic, it was mostly, and I was like just bored and like buying all this stuff. I don't even own most of that stuff anymore. But
yeah, right.
I've sold a lot of that stuff, and then just buy more pedals.
So when you did these multiple layers of guitars, did you reamp those or did you play them every time?
To play
You know
them
what I
every
mean?
time.
Yeah, that's cool. Probably
Yeah, I
added
feel
a lot more volume to the whole thing.
yeah, it makes it seem like there's more than one guitar player
Right.
playing, which gives it a bigger sound because it's like you're just delayed by a little bit when you play along with it. I don't remember if Sanford actually did do a clean direct line or not. When we recorded Machines on this last tour, Seth definitely did do that, but I don't know how much of it he used, but or is going to use anyways to reamp if he wants to. But yeah, I mean, we had basically the high watt and the template set up the whole time, and then I think he used a twin reverb and one of the Ampeg kind of twin reverb ones. I think it's the B3 or whatever. Those were set up for and they were all clean. Everything was set up clean. But I mean, we used the twin and stuff for the clean guitar parts when those happened.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going to drop off here soon. It's just going to be you and me talking about
right? So Noah, I know at least one of your rigs pretty well from In the Mouth of Radness. Do you use a similar rig for this? Or do you have a whole different bass amp and everything?
Well, I believe for the cost, I was using this pretty much the same setup, just the 215 and 410, if I recall. Now we've added the 18 to the mix now, so that's been great live. Just to the point where I don't really need the 410, just the 215 and the 18s proves the point, you know. But I'm still looking for any reason to use all three. So you know,
why not? Yeah, you used a Ampeg head, right?
The Mesa Boogie.
Mesa Boogie. Yeah. Do you still use that then too?
Oh yeah.
Now, cool.
Yeah, that thing ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. Nice.
It's one of the most versatile things I've ever worked with in my life. So yeah, it's my baby. So
it's really awesome when you can find one thing and just really enjoy it. I have yet to do that. I'm still searching for the perfect everything. Everything I have is a compromise, but anyway, that's beside the point.
That's
yeah.
And Eric, do you use anything special on your drums? Any triggers or any of the electronics go through you? You're just hitting the skins,
smacking stuff.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Yeah, all my questions are about gear always. So
yeah.
I might ask about influences at some point in the future, but that's all I care about. Why do you do it? What do you use?
Yeah.
When you guys recorded the album, did you guys record it live or did you track? Because it really sounds to me like you guys really captured the live sound of the band.
No, I believe we just tracked.
Did you?
We did a live. We did the all the tracks were done live, just to get the drums. It wasn't we had a scratch track or anything like that. I don't think we used really any of the, if I remember correctly, I don't think we used any of the guitar and bass that was initially recorded. I think I was pretty much just it was there in case it was needed. But I think really we just tried to get the drums down. This was the first recording though that we've ever done where we did a song. We did a song a day rather than work being okay, drums are done. Guitar. I think we do all the songs in 1.5 days and then to get the drums down, and then we did one song to completion every day after that.
I want to say that's how we did that. Yep.
Yeah. Which was the first time we've ever done that. That was really actually kind of cool way of recording. Usually it's always okay, all the drums are done. Okay, now either the guitar or all the bass. Okay, those are done. Now we're going to do all this. But it was we would just every day be okay, we're going to do guitar. We're going to start with guitars. Okay, we're going to do bass. Okay, now we're going to do synth. Now we're going to do vocals. So we would complete one song every day. And Sanford kind of described it as you made sure that you didn't miss anything, because he's like, it's like, oh, we'll wait and do like the extra stuff at the end of the recording, and then you run out of time. You know, if you like do a song a day, you make sure to add all those extra elements that you really want to add. You know, like extra modular synth, extra guitar thing or vocal thing, you know, that you've been wanting to do, you know, that you may just kind of be like, oh, well, maybe it wasn't necessary.
Now, like when you talk about like adding like, you know, synths or whatever, or like instrumentation after the initial guitar, bass, and drum takes and everything like that. So Drew rejoined the band and he wasn't on the record, correct?
Right.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Yeah. And so he plays live with you guys because you guys just recently got back from tour not that long ago, right?
Yeah, in May. We did like 3 weeks in May.
Okay. When he plays live, does it change the trajectory of the song with his sort of input with the electronics? Are there things that you guys are doing live that you didn't do in the studio?
I think we always kind of change a little bit. Like it just, after playing it, like there's little bits that change.
I think Drew kind of described it as, and I could be the way he thought he would listen to it, and what he does definitely is influenced by the record a little bit. He's not trying to 100% change it, but he's also not trying to replicate it. Gotcha. I think a lot of the samples and stuff he's using are really from me and Erik and Noah, like just recording something weird and then him like messing with it and stuff, like bowed guitar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, which is really what is on a lot of what's on the album.
Sure.
He had a chance to be on it. I sent him it like before he was in the band and everything like that. Before I sent him like, it was like, hey, do you want to add to it? But he was like, oh no, man, it's already got enough. I don't need to add more stuff to this.
Sure. So, I know that all three of you guys are kind of really interested in like instrumentation outside of your respective instruments. So like all three of you also like, you know, orchestration and synthesizers and electronics and stuff. So did all three of you add like electronic elements when you went back and recorded? And were you guys trying to do like things that, I don't know, like I guess experimentation that you maybe didn't do on previous records? What's the process of like that, I guess, like adding extra stuff like at the, you know, to the recordings that are already there?
You know, and I mean, during the pandemic, that's when I started jumping more into the synth stuff. And like, that was, to me, that was awesome. It was making me think a little bit broader in music, you know, in writing music. Because I've just constantly have been just playing one instrument for like 30 years. So, and which I'm okay with. But with this, it was especially just the years where we couldn't get together because everyone was, you know, locked in their own houses and stuff. It made me just like hang out with that instrument even more. And even during the recording, jumping on like piano. It was, to me, the first time I've ever done anything outside of bass on a recording, really.
Yeah.
So with this, like when we went in and when we were writing these songs, like I wanted to do more than just bass riff, you know, or follow up. So, and plus, like even before I was in Aseethe, like I've always liked the electronic aspects and the synth aspects of the band. So
yeah, well, the strings are the same size on a piano as the bass, so some of them
just hit them different.
Well, then I didn't reach out at all then.
I do have to ask again another gear question. So as far as synths on this album, what were you guys using?
I was just using a Korg Mini, like a Mini Log. I love that thing too. Yeah. So it was just kind of like, plus I got a bunch of pedals through that thing. So yeah.
Sure, cool.
So what was the process of like going from bass player to like synth for you, Noah? Because I've been a guitar player pretty much my entire life, and that was just my singular instrument. And it was really interesting, just kind of like, were you approaching it as like, oh, I got to figure out like the note on the synth, or were you just kind of with the settings, or a little bit of both? Or
It was it was funny. I was just like, really, I just wanted to make noises. Really wanted to make noises out of the thing. But I mean, and it was like all the how much I know about playing piano. It was like it's there when I need it. You know, it's like, in case I need to know where C is, okay, it's right there. Hell, like, but other than that, it's like, all right, that sounds good. Like, so, but I mean, as it went in, it was just kind of like, okay, now I want to like start making some sort of noise in the key of something, you know, like.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a blast to me, man. Just like discovering this like new instrument. It's almost like you're deconstructing learning an instrument or something.
Yeah. It's all fun and games till you get into modular, and then your life is over, basically.
Yeah, and that was kind of the funny thing about the recording was when Sanford brought in that, and it was hilarious to me because I was like, oh, now, and like all the instrument cables, the really short ones that are always being plugged into things and all that. That's when I finally realized why they're all different colors.
Yeah.
It finally hit me after years of just being like, this is the most cluttered. I'm getting a panic attack looking at this. Like,
yeah. The best part about modular, though, to me is like, you're only going to hear that thing the one time. You might be able to record it, but as soon as you take all those cables out, it's gone forever.
Yep.
Like, it's like those monks that make the sand mandalas, you know, and then it just like blows away. It's kind of like that. It's really, really relaxing and nice, but not very useful for recreating music. You know, it's pretty useless.
It makes you enjoy the moment.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's why Drew doesn't in what he's doing with us, he doesn't use his modular synth setup with that. I think he uses that 1010 black box or whatever sampler.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the name of the actual company is. He can sample that stuff. Like he uses it's basically like a really fancy sampler with a touchscreen and stuff. And I think they make like some modular synth stuff. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like you just have a billion cables, and then it would never sound the same. And it could be so you could touch one knob, and then it all goes haywire.
Yeah, so and if you're using Eurorack, those knobs are so small that I mean, you honestly could touch it, not even turn it, and it would change the entire thing. So
Eric, I think I couldn't even tell you what Sanford had. I couldn't even like because I don't even know. Like I don't know. I've been warned about that world by every one of my friends that are modular synth people, and I'm enough of a gear addict that like I dabbled a little bit in like the semi-modular stuff, but again, like a lot of that stuff went out the door to fund releases. For the garage. Don't start a record label. That's my whole
nice. Thing. I only have to buy and sell like 10 more pedals, and I'm
and then
it's how you invest.
First release is on its way.
It's like crap. So suddenly I need like $2,000. It's like well, what can I sell today?
There's a lot of gear out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've been a lot better about it lately, though. I haven't really bought anything much this year at all, without selling something.
I've always been kind of the as you guys all know, I think make do with what you have, which can work for you and work against you sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm still waiting to find the right gear to make music. I can't even start until I find the right pedal.
For sure.
I feel like I was there though, for real, for like 10 years. Like, I just need the right guitar and then I'll write a great song. It's like, that's so dumb, dude.
Eric even gave me crap about this, and it's true. It's 100% true. And I've had multiple people that they're like I for some weird reason, like think that I need something more to basically get the same sound that I've already achieved. Like I couldn't. My tone hasn't really changed much at all. But then I'm like, I want this new pedal or something like that, and then tune it to exactly the way I want it to sound. With the other thing.
It's, which is great.
Eric,
You found your sound. Like
Mhm.
that's you.
new stuff is
Buy
so
another
fun.
thing, make it
Yeah.
sound the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every time you just return to the DS1.
I literally just not the DS1, but I literally just did that. I the Blackhawk amps Balrog like distortion, which I use mainly for the last few years. When I ended up selling it and getting rid of it and going with something else because I was trying to find something to work with the Dean Costello templates. And then I ended up trading the Dean Costello templates for the Mad amp that I'm using now, and which has much more of a mid focus. And so then I was like, well, I'm just going to go. And then I kind of started cycling through a couple other distortions. And I'm like, I'm just going to go back to the Balrog. So now I'm at the basics of what I swear the pedals on my board I've owned like 3-4 times.
Yeah.
And then that's it. These are the basics. I have the Strymon El Capistan, the Blue Sky, and then the Leela volume and the tuner and the Balrog. And those are like, I've owned those so many times. I'm never selling them anymore. Like, hopefully. I have to talk myself out of it, though. I have to be like, all you need
is another looper.
Which I've purchased a million times, too.
Yeah.
Noah hasn't, like, we've been practicing the cost. And then, like, so it's like, oh, man, I should really loop that clean part when it's coming out of the distortion and have a preset loop. So now I got to buy a looper pedal.
Back in the looper loop. Yeah.
The looper loop. Nice.
For one part in one song.
No, there's other parts. There's other parts that I could use in.
I spent a bunch of money on this. There's going to be other parts.
Right?
Hey, what do you guys think about looping something?
I kind of have a silly question, actually, that relates to all this. Is there one piece of gear? This is a question for everyone, and you can even answer too, Eric. Is there one piece of gear that you guys still have from like when Eric and Brian, you guys were in Parrish, Noah, you were in, I don't know, say Cisco, you know?
So
No.
it's
Not me.
I didn't think he would. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's funny to me that the same bass I used when in the band when I was 14 is the one I'm using now.
The PV?
The PV Fury.
No kidding. You're still using that one, huh? Wow.
Yeah, thing's bulletproof. I think we just modded out the nut so it could just hold the B string of a 5-string and just change the pickups. Yeah. And then just basically that PV 215 that so I mean different speakers by now, obviously, but like these things are just, that's why I've been PV cult like my entire life. They're just bulletproof, you know?
Yeah.
I think going back to like what you guys were talking about with gear and stuff, like I've gotten to a point now where I've MacGyvered everything I need, you know, to make the sound I want, to the point where I don't need anything anymore. Or at least I'm not as buying as many pedals or, you know, whatever anymore.
Wow.
I got what I got. Maybe there's something out there, but right now this is, you know, I'm content with what I got.
Can you imagine that, Brian, feeling that way?
Yeah, right. I should be.
That's great, Noah. That's serious. I'm happy for you.
I definitely like envy that.
I didn't mean it to be like this Zen thing, or you know.
No, I like it.
I mean that way. Like
that's your mantra. No new gear.
No new gear.
Sounds fine.
Sounds fine. Hey, that's actually a good mantra.
Yeah.
Eric, what about you? Is your drum set a different drum set? I mean, I'm sure it is, but
years ago I traded the d.i.y like for Ludwig from the 70s, and then I got an 80s Ludwig kit, so I have two drum kits now.
Yeah,
I've been using the free drum kit, which I got from Frank years ago. It's like an 80s beginner drum kit, but for some reason it sounds amazing.
Nice.
Awesome. Those are the best ones.
It is made out of particle board.
Nice.
And I mean, it was funny that thing
Interesting.
was being like backline through most of that tour in May. So
Yeah, everybody used it.
yeah,
Really?
beginner
Everybody
drum
used it.
set made out of particle board, and it just took a beating.
It did.
Wow.
It blasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody was like,
Amazing.
it sounds awesome. I'm like, yep.
What does your as a band, what does your writing process look like right now? And is it different than it used to be?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It definitely felt different. I mean, comparing Throws to the Cost, how we wrote that versus how we wrote this. Throws seemed more aggressive in the process. Like it was a little more like ugly and faster and like more just like give me the ugly riff and whatever. This time around, I mean, with the Cost, it was like pandemic happened, so that a couple things happened between Throws and the Cost. So now we're barely getting together to write. So whatever time we had to get together, we were just trying to make the most out of it. And it was kind of interesting too, because we kind of felt like the 4 songs in the Cost feel like we're 4 very different songs. How do we make a record out of that?
Sure.
Right. That was kind of something that we were constantly thinking about. But as of now, I mean, have we really been writing since Drew's been in?
we did the EP.
We did we did the machine.
But that was totally
thing.
weird. Yeah.
And that was definitely something like, and going back to how we recorded with Sanford, where it was like a song a day. This time at Machines with Magnets, this was more very loose, very going in with ideas and, a few riffs here and there. But
what if we move this here? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's always felt like it's been linear in the songwriting, but this time lately we've been, I don't know, I guess exploring new avenues of songwriting. I mean, really, it was kind of the first time I went in to a studio with barely any knowledge of what we were doing,
Was that intimidating at all, like going in like that? Or did you guys, was that pre-planned? I mean, were you guys like, let's try and do like some sort of, I don't know, when you, this could be a wrong thing to say, but like, it almost sounds like you guys were approaching it almost like a jazz album or something, like.
It was more as like movements. We had like 2 things that kind of went together. And it was like, how do we arrange these movements?
So is it improv?
Yeah, slightly.
Wow.
Slightly.
Yeah, what we would do is we would do like, so on a guitar end, like I've approached it definitely much more like I would like a granular breath type of thing where I just had it was like 5 movements I think we had, and I just kind of wrote everything around specific chords that could be changed. And then Drew and I got together through most of it. And Drew comes from like 10 years of just doing nothing but New Standards Men, which is all improv. So we went in and so first of all, it was like, this was just kind of a bonus thing because we didn't do the dates in Canada. So we were like, well, what do? We record, we have 3 days with the band that we're on tour with, do we play other shows on our own? So we were like, well, we'll just go to Machines since we're on the East Coast and record an EP there. When we booked it, it was like a year in advance. So I think we were kind of like, in a way, we just had to adapt to our circumstances. We're like, okay, well, we can't get together as much. And then Drew joined the band, and then, okay, we don't have anything like super like solidly written. we're just going to do it this way and see what happens. So it was very much like us adapting to our circumstances. So when we recorded, we were like, okay, we have these loose ideas and we had all these demos and we recorded every practice. And so we'd listen back to them and be like, okay. And so we'd play a shortened version of what we were going to do and then recorded it, listened to it, and they're like, okay, now we'll go back in. And working with Seth, definitely, he's like, I've done records where nobody's written a note. He's done tons of records like that where no one's written a note. It's all improv. It's all put together. And then we just started putting those movements together into one 30-minute piece. So it's definitely much more like loose in that respect, but there's definitely riffs where we just lock in. So it's just a different approach to the album. And again, it's an EP. Whether we do it on the next one like that, who knows? Like, it's just a different approach. Like, the cost was such a long process and kind of arduous. And there was times where we just like scrapped all the arrangements and started over. It spending 2.5 years on a record, definitely
draining.
Sure.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing. It was just kind of the Doom thing was like, it was getting plain. It was getting plain a lot. Like,
yeah.
I was just going to say, I think that the cost, I don't know how you guys will take this, but there seems to be kind of an accessibility to it that also, I think there's also echoes of like experimentation that I've never quite heard from you guys. And so it actually makes sense to me that you guys would follow up with something like what you're describing. I don't know. That's really interesting. You guys are kind of talking about that with the what you're recording at Machines with Magnets.
I don't know. Like, I think what you were saying about the accessibility and stuff, I think really, like, we were talking about, like, Doom and just the same formula going on and on and on. And like, I think it was Brian and I that were just like in agreement. We're like, look, we just like writing songs, like actual songs. So it's also, I think there might be like relatable content within the album. I mean, just writing that for the 2 years we were writing, a lot happened. So it's like, so yeah, I mean, if it ain't loud, it's pretty sad, like, so. And that's what I've always said. If it can't be loud, be sad about it.
That's
like,
that's
a
your band's
great
new
quote.
slogan. Yeah. On the
If it
t-shirt.
ain't loud, it's pretty sad.
yeah. So
there's a lot of wisdom in that quote. A lot of
I know
wisdom
there's
there.
probably better wording for it, but here I am saying it. So it's like,
Well,
It is cool though that Doom in general, and I think it's probably debatable who opened these doors, but I think it's a really malleable form. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah,
you can get really experimental with it, or you can get really grungy with it. Like, it's up to you. Like, and you can say, oh, that was Godflesh, or that was Sun O, or whatever, that opened that doorway a little bit to just like, this can be ambient music essentially, And so I think that's cool that in that form you can follow just about any path you want and it's going to be acceptable, or at least enjoyed by fans of that music. I guess what I'm saying is, like, ska doesn't have anywhere to go a lot of times, like, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, probably other forms of metal too. I mean, it's so narrow. Like, I mean, playing thrash metal, you can only probably do so much.
Yeah.
And some thrash metal virtuoso is going to listen to this podcast and go, "Fuck you!" Like, but
yeah.
But with Doom, it was like, it's a little more free to go in any more direction. I mean, I just think metal is getting out there. Like, that new Inner Arma album, like, that's not even death metal anymore. That's just what did I call that? It was like psychedelic dystopia. Like,
it's so weird.
It's out there, but it's so good.
We've played with those guys a ton of times. It's been a few years. They're really great. Like definitely the new one or their one before that, Sulphur English.
Yeah.
Is definitely those two albums. They're just weird. They're so at their core, they're definitely like death metal doom. But like they're just so weird and out there with their approach. It just puts them like in another field on their own. That new one's like intense. I would almost suggest checking out Sulphur English first.
Okay.
Got it. I'm adding it right now.
I would probably,
don't want to just jump right in.
I would do Sulphur English first because
right.
as someone who has followed the band like since their first album, that last one, I mean, like Noah and I listened to it for the first time with Noah in the car. And Noah was just like, I love your reactions to this. Like, I was like, what is even going on? What is even happening? There's just the guitars are screeching through this entire song, and he's just keeping a death metal beat going, and just the production's weird. It's fucking weird album. It's so weird, but it's so intense. Like, as soon as Noah got out of the car, like I had to take a break from it. It's so audibly insane.
I was like, maybe I shouldn't be playing this on the interstate, like with him driving. Like maybe this was a bad idea.
You're just an agent of chaos. Let's see what happens now.
I had to take it off because it's just like, okay, I need to like sit down and listen to this again. I think I was like, I'll just put on the new Bong Ripper. That one I could just kind of like mellow out to a little bit. We had to like, Erik probably would have been more exposed to it. So like for this tour, we had to go to CDs. We only listened to CDs on the tour. So we had to dig into our collections to get CDs.
That's a throwback.
Yeah, because the tape deck where we would like plug in the little tape adapter to play off of our phones broke. The tape deck broke. So we had to use CDs in a van to listen to music. So we just like dug through our collections, which most of it's like, besides maybe Drew, who still buys CDs, like most of it's all like early 2000s stuff, except we hadn't listened to forever. So like I was just like digging through my collection to be like, okay, so like we like the whole tour for the most part, unless someone was listening, decided to check out and listen on their headphones on their phone, we had to listen to like old stuff. Otherwise, it would have been like, dude, you haven't heard the new Inner Arma? All right.
Were there some forgotten gems that you were just like, oh my God, I didn't realize at the time how amazing this was?
Yeah, what
were
was
you just like embarrassed?
What was some of the stuff you were listening to, like that you were just kind of like, oh man, I haven't heard this in years?
Definitely some Sepultura.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I should say every tour that at least I've been on, there will always be Fugazi and Quicksand Slip.
Yep.
Oh man, that's one of the best albums of the 90s.
Amazing.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think. There was definitely Sepultura. I want to say there was some was it Yezu that was being played?
Yeah.
Which I completely forgot about Yezu. So, but other than that, I mean, it was just some old country here and there, and that was pretty sick.
Definitely did some Johnny Cash. There was like Converge.
I think it was the first time I had really listened to like You Fail Me or like Jane Doe in a few years. Oh yeah, and then also like weirdly enough, which is more a me thing, but like so when we played Milwaukee, we were leaving Milwaukee and Noah was like, oh man, Times of Grace is 25 years old. And I was like, oh man, I lived in Milwaukee when this album came out. And I remember having to like get a friend to drive me out into the suburbs to the one record store that had Times of Grace, like on CD. And we had the CD in the van. So I was like, okay, well, we have to play Times of Grace.
Wow.
I mean, definitely, that's definitely one of my favorite albums of all time, probably. But, and also too, like, is this CD going to play?
Oh, for sure.
That was
You're like rubbing toothpaste on it.
right.
There's a few attempts to clean some. Like,
Yeah, that was the thing too. Is like we were like, man, because we had demos of the new stuff, and normally we would have been like on the way to the studio listening to the demos, but we're like, we have no way of listening to these demos. Like, we should have made a CD. And I was like, I have no way to make a CD anymore. Like, I have no freaking way to even do that. Coincidentally enough, though, not to derail the conversation, like even more, like the only reason I've thought of that is because my son is way into like 3D modeling and how like, but old 3D modeling and how it works. And he's like trying to figure out ways to make the old VHS tape look. He wants like things to look crappy, like VHS tapes. And I'm like, dude, there's probably tons of filters out there to do that. And he's like, no, I want a converter to go to a VHS tape and then to go back to a computer. It's like, dude.
I can help you out with
You
that.
want me to buy all this stuff? Just
I honestly have a spare VCR and a spare converter. I'll loan it to you.
Do you?
I do.
Oh my God, you're my favorite person.
We'll get it worked out. We'll get it worked out. Yeah.
Fuck yes.
I got way into making VHS stuff a couple of years ago, and for that aesthetic reason. So
that's exactly what he wants.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's hard to fake
it's yeah, it is.
But I'll look it up.
Wow, that's pretty impressive though, being as young as he is, that he's got like interest in that in the first place.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, he's been, during the pandemic, he got way into, I mean, at 7, he got like way into like 3D modeling, and I didn't think he would stick to it. And then also the 90s aesthetic, like all those kids, they love the 90s now. So he's like way into all that stuff.
You kind of talked about content. I think, Noah, you kind of mentioned it. Is there any one like sort of, what was some of the, obviously there's no shortage of things to be inspired to write about and furthermore to critique nowadays. What was some of the main points of inspiration for like the lyrics?
I mean, it was kind of a different approach than Throws, and I wanted to make it happen that way. Like, just Throws seemed a lot more visceral and just like more in your face, you know. This time around, you had like, you know, social unrest and pandemic, and you know, everyone kind of being affected in their own way, you know. And I guess in my world, I was seeing a lot of people reacting extremely to a lot of these things, to the point where they were like being extreme about the smallest things or inconveniences or something like that, you know. And there was like a good chunk of time where it seemed like either the people I knew or associated with were either dropping like flies or being complete creeps and assholes. So with this album, it was kind of like, okay, writing lyrically, it was just like, where are we at now? You know, it's less in your face, it's less pointing fingers. It's just more of, all right, let's take a breather. How is everyone, and what has it affected? Does that make sense? I guess like
Absolutely. The lyrically, that's actually exactly how I kind of felt that it was presented. Are you were you the primary lyricist, Noah, or did you write lyrics as well, Brian? Or
not on this album. Noah took over every lyric.
I would say inadvertently. Inadvertently,
We just made you. Like,
I honestly like I if I could, I wouldn't do vocals at all. So even when I started this band, I didn't even want to do vocals. Like, it wasn't supposed to. It just happened by accident. But like, I think I contributed like a little bit of vocals on Throws, but like on this one, I feel like Noah definitely, he seemed like he had a good grasp on it, and you know, it's just better at it than I am. So like, whatever, I'll just concentrate on guitar. Like, I definitely like just like, I feel like as far as directness on guitar, like, or musically, it's like I think there's definitely much more like hardcore influences in some of the songs.
Oh, sure.
The in your face, and working with even more of a metal dude that's done a lot of heavy records. Like I feel like Sanford definitely on the production end was able to make it a lot like heavier and aggressive, like the way he mixed it and everything. Shane's definitely from like the more, even though he is into metal, like he's definitely much more from the indie rock, like shellac, like production. Like, you know, the drums are way bigger, there's more air and space, but like with this one and with this record, it definitely was like working with somebody that's worked with a lot more doom and heavy bands. Like,
Sure.
you know, Sanford did the first High on Fire record. I mean,
Yeah,
like he's done he's done a ton of like heavy stuff, and it has been in one of my favorite doom bands of all time, Buried at Sea. Like he was the guitar player and main dude in that. So
I have one kind of boring question. So get ready. I think in most of the bands I've played with, I have a personal sort of baseline as far as an artist or a band that kind of recenters me when I am trying to think of what to write or what to play. And I just wondered if you guys individually have an artist or a band that when you want to refocus and recenter what you're doing in a sea, who that might be.
I don't really know. I mean,
Yeah, personally, I do not have one that I go back to reset.
I do, like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Can I name like 5?
Yeah. You can take the other guy's turns.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, Godflesh is definitely one. There's some very obvious ones probably. Godflesh would definitely be one. That would probably be the main one. It's weird. The band Examination of their last album, The Whitest Elephants, is like one of my favorite albums. Like especially from that era, even like
cool.
I feel like that album definitely is a huge influence. Buried at Sea, that's another one. And then probably like, I mean, I can't actually, that wouldn't recenter. I would say Sun definitely always recenters me a little bit. But that's probably one of my favorite bands anyways. So Con 8,
Yeah.
weirdly enough.
Yeah.
Nice.
So probably these are mostly obvious. If you listen to Examination of Majority Rule would be another one, I think. Guitar-wise, especially. That one definitely recenters me a little bit, like just like guitar and just like the way they wrote songs. There's a few I just threw out there.
Nice.
And if you haven't listened to Examination of especially that last album, the other ones are more screamo-y, but that last one was like more doom. Just the drums on that album are fantastic. Anybody I ever play that album for and they hear it for the first time, they immediately go, wow, the drums. Yeah.
To bring it back to you guys and make it slightly less fun. So you're talking about
that has to be like antithesis of what we're discussing.
So you're talking about maturing and changing and growing and stuff like that. So it sounds like you've had a couple different approaches lately as far as recording, as far as making the songs. As this goes on, do you feel like there's a path that's clear that you can see at this moment, or is it you're just going to find it as it finds you kind of thing, or what?
I mean, I can only speak for myself in being in the band, but I kind of see it going like as it goes. Like I don't even know what's going to happen next, like within songwriting, really.
Yeah.
So, and to me, that's, I mean, I kind of find that pretty exciting. I mean, maybe I'll just like break my bass and then you'll all be sorry.
I think for me, like I always try to keep like one foot in what we've been doing and then like step a foot out in either direction. So like I keep trying to be like, well, you know, we recorded, I mean, the cost has been done for over a year. Like
Mhm.
it's been done and recorded, mastered, artwork, everything's been done for over a year. Like we recorded it a year and a half ago, and we wrote it all over the 2.5 years before that. So it's like it's been such like a long process to get to this point. And then we did that EP, which was much more of like a let's see just what happens type of thing, especially with Drew in the band. And then I started like, okay, well, maybe I should start thinking about the next album. And then it's like, no, you don't have to. Like,
You don't have to.
the album just came out.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't even have to think about it. Like I did, start like setting up the recorder and just started recording, like jamming, playing guitar and stuff. But like, I'm just gonna collect those things, like put it in the riff catalog for later use. So yeah,
Nice.
you gotta grow with it, right? And just change. And then also as people like not just specifically into like this type of music or whatever, that listen to like we all listen to like different music and not necessarily always heavy music, like figuring out ways to grow and to change, and make every album a little different. We may disappoint a lot of people though with this EP. I've been thinking about that. I mean, it's like everybody's like, man, I really dig this direction and stuff, and then it's like, well, let's wait for the EP because it's not bad at all. It's in a way lower tuning, and it's sludgier a little bit and a little bit more freeform. So,
well, I mean, this has been a great conversation, guys. And again, I just want to say, man, the album is amazing. I really mean this. It blew my mind when I heard it the first time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
I just really think that you guys keep getting better and better. I think honestly, like this is probably my favorite record right off the bat. And then it just kind of goes like second would be Throws, and then Hopes of Failure would be after that. And I mean, but all three of them, I mean, seriously, every single one is fantastic. So
thanks, man.
I don't know if you guys saw this, but I did a hot take on Facebook, and I said, hot take, Tool should just release a new album without Maynard. And of course you have two camps. Some people that are like, yeah, that might actually kind of work. And then you have other people that are like, what the hell are you talking about?
And then I was the third camp, which was they should just replace him with AI. Because what better band is there to just be like, you have conspiracy theories, we'll prove you right. we're just an AI band,
right?
Like it tracks. I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Some say that Fear Inoculum was AI.
Wait, some Tool fan had conspiracy theory?
Oh, it wasn't just some Tool fan.
It was the Tool.
It was me. No, just kidding.
It was the Tool fan.
Yeah, the Tool fan. Because you know me, I put Tool above every other band. I love Tool, but come on.
Yeah, I figure every Tool fan considers themselves the Tool fan.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I don't know how you make tournaments out of that, but like I'd love to see one.
I could not get a bigger wrench tattooed on my back.
Yeah, right.
Dude, man.
Tool tattoos.
The Tool tattoos.
Oh God, that has to be the end of the interview. That has to be stupid enough to call this.
I always find a way for the downward spiral to come. You see what I did there?
Well, we could talk about downward spiral.
Free fall.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for real, though. It's been really fun talking to you.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
with you. It was a blast, guys.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.